go by ship. Repton is quite a distance north on the River Trent.
Alright, let's talk about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I know it's not out yet. I'm not reviewing it. I had a nice, tasty hands-on a couple of times already. Ubisoft worked out a way for reviewers all over the place and journalists all over the place to log in and virtually play this game over a server. The streaming of this game, although when I saw the stuff on my television set, there is definitely some dithering and some artifacts and stuff like that that you have to contend with. It's really easy to see how detailed this game is. It's absolutely gorgeous. This is Ubisoft Montreal, the same team that worked on Assassin's Creed Origins and Black Flag. Phenomenal developers using cutting-edge tech and all the learnings that they've picked up over the years of working on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, also making this game next-gen for Series X and for PlayStation 5. So there is some pedigree, there is some expectation, some beautiful artistry on display. All of that stuff we can kind of expect. But what I think is unique to Assassin's Creed Valhalla is, first of all, the setting, the idea of medieval England that has been overrun by Vikings, and you are playing a Viking warrior that has to ally with different factions across the English countryside, but also kind of maintain a brotherhood or a fraternity with all kinds of Vikings that you're going to see roaming around inside of this very, very rich and detailed and lush world, is so captivating and is so maturely and elegantly handled. I think that's really what we're seeing here as Assassin's Creed continues to iterate, and we keep seeing lots and lots of these games over the years. And obviously that's a detraction with Assassin's Creed, is just how much lore and how many Assassin's Creed adventures we can all get into. A lot of these games, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, just seem like they never end as well. They're just such massive games. And Odyssey obviously was a massive success for Ubisoft Quebec and for Ubisoft in general. It also showed us a beautiful and lush, rich world, but there is something about this green but diverse English countryside that just makes it so appealing and so captivating to explore, whether on horseback or from your raven's eye view overhead. Of course, you have all kinds of abilities that are going to be very familiar to Assassin's Creed players. You can stealth into enemy camps and take out all of the bad guys one by one without them knowing it. And of course, you can converse with townspeople and go on all kinds of side missions and quests. There's lots of exploration in the game, which is about verticality, but also digging deep in underground bases and hidden areas and things. Lots of gold to collect, lots of loot to collect. These are really role-playing experiences. And honestly, when I was playing the game, I was, of course, reminded of lots of great Assassin's Creed adventures that I'd been on before, but I was also thinking about CD Projekt Red's phenomenal The Witcher 3. It has that level of richness and detail. I also was really engaged by the characters, by the storytelling. There is a lot of nuance and a lot of subtlety and great performances. By this time, all of the casting directors and all of the performance capture directors that are working with the actors and the writers to kind of concoct a believable story, they're just so on it. They're on their best game, and that's all clearly evident here. And so you're creating terrific relationships with characters that you're going to meet within the game. You're also outfitting your little hometown as well. You're upgrading the buildings. You get to involve yourself with some pretty cool mini games in this game as well, which kind of tie to the Norse mythology that you're going to tool around with and play with in the game. And of course, one of the major big sort of key points of this game are the raids that you can go on with your AI buddies. You can get into one of the warships and all get off of it and then storm a base together. You get into some huge epic battles where everybody's hurtling axes at each other or shield stomping them or bashing them with maces and giant swords and all kinds of just heinous weaponry. And it's really fun. The chaos that erupts in those moments is really, really cool. It worked better, the raids did, when I first got my hands on with the game, but I was blown away by the fidelity increase on my most recent playthrough, which was last week. This game obviously is approaching release, so we're getting very, very close. I spent 6 hours in the game. recently last week, and I just had such a great time exploring the world, which is gorgeous. Even with the artifacts that I would see through the stream, it was all beautiful. The raids, though, were a little bit buggy, and that says to me that Ubisoft is just tuning and tweaking and polishing. This is a complex game. There are a lot of systems at play. There's a lot to do, lots of interpersonal communication, and of course, eventually you're going to be hiding from Templar Knights and making friends and enemies all across the landscape, and there's a lot to explore, and fast travel is going to be your friend for sure. But it also feels a little bit more focused in my sort of initial playthroughs with this game than Odyssey did. Odyssey is absolutely an extraordinary game, but it does seem to just tendril out in a million different directions, and it's overwhelming. This felt, at least so far to me, a little bit more focused, a little bit more guiding you in a direction and a logical kind of through point, you know, like you are trying to rescue some royalty, you're trying to not betray an alliance, but get what you want out of these English leaders that are kind of tying with you against their better judgment, but they're wanting to kind of end the bloodshed. And something that becomes clearer when you dive into this game, and something I also picked up on when I talked with one of the producers on the title, Benoit Richet, this is really a game that ties together how important the Norse culture was in British history and how integral and intertwined they are. And you can see that too when you visit the UK. You can see lots and lots of iconography and stuff that ties itself to Vikings. So it's really cool to dive into this setting. It's a perfect fit, and obviously there's a tremendous amount of action in the game. This has always been a franchise that props up all kinds of cool historical moments and figureheads and lets you kind of Forrest Gump your way through them, you know, and connect yourself to some stuff that was incredibly integral and important in world history, but also lets you kind of put on the boots and live with the ferocity that human beings were capable of throughout time. So you do some heinous things, you have to make some pretty big decisions within the game as well, like lots of live or die type moments, lots of this or that, which is cool. And I like the colorful characters, the boisterousness of them, the silliness of some of them, the esprit de corps that some of these characters have, you know, they're kind of fearless and they're living in fearful times. It's a lot of fun. It's made with a tremendous amount of artistry and intelligence, and you can feel that already, and you know, I have been loving it. It's a perfect setting as well, and some of the new animations that you get into are just so visceral and thrilling. I mean, there is a lot of head chopping that happens in the game, and it's a shock every time it happens. And I've probably put in 10 hours of time into Assassin's Creed Valhalla by this point. From the first to the last head chop that happens, it's still like, oh my god! But I mean, it's so over the top and so removed from our reality that you can kind of smile a little bit through it. It pulses adrenaline through you, not unlike what I experienced with Ghost of Tsushima. And, you know, I made some comparisons while I was playing this to Ghost of Tsushima, which, of course, is the most recent epic open-world adventure that I went on, and also one of the most beautiful open-world games that I've played. But there was a stylized kind of quality about Ghost of Tsushima, the hyper-saturated colors. It was almost like a painting, almost the way that Ghost of Tsushima came together. Assassin's Creed Valhalla looks a little bit more like they're hewing in the direction of photorealism, still with a painterly quality about it and a romanticized quality about it. It's going to be big. It's going to be epic. I'm fired up. And honestly, I think that Assassin's Creed Valhalla is going to be on the shortlist for one of the best games of 2020. I can't wait to review it and to play it on finished hardware. I'll likely try to see if I can score a Series X code for this. Maybe I'll see it on the PlayStation 5 or both, but I'm fired up. I think Ubisoft has got a winner. I'm very excited about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I can't wait for all of you to check out Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Maybe we can all get together and chat about it with one of the leads on the design of the game on a future Vic's Basement or something like that. How does that sound? All right, that's going to be my initial preview thoughts on Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'll be back with a review of the game. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you soon, and until then, play forever.